Hello everybody and welcome to episode 17 of our Let's Play here, unlocking all the characters. We are in DM world and we are currently trying to duel Espa at level 30 at the gate using Joey. And we have big plans for this episode since we are first unlocking Espa, then we go to Go Rush World and unlock Maddox, which means we will complete the character unlocks in Go Rush World, which means our first world there is complete. We get Dennis McField, DSOD Bakura, Dr. Crowler and Alito. So quite a packed episode. So here in this particular duel, I want Joey to get a comeback victory against Espa at level 30. And Espa is quite an interesting opponent since he is using Jinzo and therefore rendering all your trap cards useless. Which means I resort to spell cards for the most part, if I have spell cards. But honestly, I have more protective traps than spells. And getting my life points lower than his is actually normally quite difficult. However, he has a spell card that can tribute one of the monsters he controls and gain its attack points as life points. And that's quite interesting since I had him use mind control on one of my monsters and then tribute that guy so that he could get the life points and also getting rid of one of my monsters in the process. It didn't happen here, but it can happen. Also, what happened off screen was that we collected a psychic type monster and 3 machines, and Joey won against Espa without using any level 5 or higher monsters, and versus Espa we activated 4 spell or trap cards in a single duel. So quite the normal missions here and quite easy to accomplish. And when it comes to these level 5, no level 5 summons, it's just the only level 5 or higher monster that I have in my standard deck at this point is actually Stardust Dragon, which I cannot even summon because I'm not playing the Hyper Synchrons. So I'm just resorting to Dark Rebellion XYZ Dragon and Gaia Saber the Lightning Shadow, both of which do not have levels. So I am fine there. We now swapped to Go Rush World and tried to duel Maddox at level 30 at the gate. Honestly, just between you and me, I have been waiting for Maddox to spawn into Go Rush World at level 30 for quite some time and he wouldn't appear, and this was the point when I got fed up. Also, his name was next on the list when I spun the wheel of names and therefore I had to go for him. So the one objective I have for this particular duel is that Udias wins against Maddox at level 30. The other missions I was able to clear in a different duel against him without using gate keys, and those missions were that Udias summons Galactica Oblivion against him, he summons Transam Linek against him, Galactica Oblivion defeats Maddox, and versus Maddox we win with 2000 or less life points remaining, which is a very unique mission for Go Rush World or for Rush duels in general, and it kind of sucks, but then again you can actually do this no problem if you are a little careful. So this means we completed all the character unlocks in Go Rush World, and I'm not going to show the wheel now, the character wheel as proof, but I'm going to do this at the end of episode 24, which is the last episode of this run. And then we can now go to Arc 5 World. I mentioned Dennis McField before, and in fact we are now dueling Dennis at level 10 at the gate using Shay. And the objectives are that we summon 2 rank 4 or higher XYZ monsters in a single duel against him using Shay. And versus Dennis, we destroy 5 monsters in total in duels against him, so that's fine. And versus Dennis, we summon a rank 8 or higher monster. And the one rank 8 or higher monster that I have at this point is, of course, Neo Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon, which I'm going to summon, which happens to be a rank 4 or higher as well. So if I summon that guy, the Neo Galaxy Eyes, and the Dark Rebellion XYZ Dragon, I get the 2 rank 4 or higher XYZ summons in with no issues at all. When it comes to Dennis, I do not think that he is a problem at level 10, and normally he is fine to duel against. However, level 30 kind of sucks in my opinion, because Trapeze Magician is just so overpowered from my point of view here. And he also plays some Ancient Gear cards, with one Ancient Gear, I think it's a trap card, that revives an Ancient Gear monster once per turn, so I cannot push for a game because he keeps reviving that guy. So not the biggest fan of Dennis McField level 30, but this was against him at level 10, so we should be fine there. Also, if you don't have the Order Challenger structure deck and do not have the Dark Rebellion XYZ Dragon from that structure deck, you could always resort to Shay's starting skill, which would give you access to Raid Raptor Rise Falcon, that happens to be a rank 4 monster as well. Just keep in mind that it is a monster that requires level 4 Winged Beast type monsters, so you have to build your deck accordingly. And then we also need to duel Dennis at level 30 as well. In fact, Yuya has to beat Dennis at level 30 3 times in total, and I'm going to show you a replay after this one. And yeah, the other 2 level 30 duels I did off screen, and as I teased last episode, I think it was, I did not actually duel him at level 30 myself. I let Auto Duel do it for me, since this is one actually duel that I actually despise. So, having said that, we can now move on. We cleared 3 missions for Dennis, so we have 2 more open, and I'm going to show you the deck that I used here. Not that it matters, and you can use whatever you have and whatever you want to, but you can now refer to this deck if you so choose. Now to the replay. It is Yuya versus Dennis at level 30. It was against him at the gate as well. And from the way that the Yuya here is playing, you can already infer that this is auto-dueling, since that guy does stuff I usually don't do. And it's especially troublesome if we look at cards like Metal Morph, because the AI, when auto-dueling, likes to activate Metal Morph at the end of my battle phase after my monster already attacked, and also it doesn't keep Metal Morph, or Kunai with Chain for that matter, as protection, but rather as an attack buff for my monsters, and therefore is unable to use these cards on my weaker monsters when they are attacked by monsters that are slightly stronger. But hey, it is what it is. This guy was an auto-duel, and the final Dennis McField mission was that Yuya dueled any opponent and activated 3 spell cards in a single duel, which, for example, could be done in the duel against Shay at level 30, where we had to win with 1000 or less life points remaining, and I activated 3 copies of Hieroglyph Lithograph, which happens to be a spell card. So, with that said, it actually is a mission that clears itself, basically. Dennis McField unlocked, we swapped to DSOD World, and now we are dueling Bakura at level 30 at the gate using DSOD Yugi. And the one objective that we have for this duel in particular is that Yugi wins. The other missions were that Joey and Taya beat Bakura at level 30, so each of them. So Joey, Taya and Yugi have to beat him at level 30. Also, we collect 3 Fiend-type monsters and we collect 3 Dark-type monsters. Now, when you remember last episode when we got Vector, we had to clear the mission that stated collect 3 Dark monsters, so that covers itself basically. If you get 3 Darks for Vector, you also get 3 Darks for Bakura. Also, a lot of Fiend-type monsters happen to be Darks, so if you collect a few Fiends, you should get the Darks as well. So, that being said, we now cleared all the missions for Bakura and can unlock him. The next one actually will be Dr. Crowler, and Crowler is one that used to be kind of a pain to get, but no longer is as painful, since they actually made his missions way easier. So that's good stuff. Good to hear, good to see, good to play. So let's then swap to GX, and Crowler spawned in at level 10, so that's mighty convenient. Previously, we had to duel him at level 30 and do the 3 missions that I am now going to tell you against him at level 30, which are summon Elemental Hero Flame Wingman, get 1500 or more points of effect damage with a single activation, and get a comeback victory using Jane against Crowler. Now, back in the day, that mission with 1500 effect damage at once was actually 2000 effect damage at once, and the way we were supposed to do this was you let him summon his Ancient Gear Beast, and then you summon your Flame Wingman, run over Ancient Gear Beast, and then it deals Ancient Gear Beast's 2000 attack points as damage to Crowler. However, I don't think he plays a monster in this level 10 deck that has 1500 or more attack points, so the Flame Wingman strat does not seem viable to me. So what I'm doing instead is I'm resorting to Gravekeeper's Vessel once again, but I'm not fully committing to the Gravekeeper's Vessel farm, but instead just incorporate a few cards from this farm into my deck, which is the Vessel Farm package, as I call it. And that of course includes Gravekeeper's Vessel, also at least 1 Union attack, and just for good measure and safety, an anti-magic arrows. That usually is enough to get us where we need to be, and of course when we are considering the other missions we need fusion materials for Flame Wingman, and that's at least 1 Avian and 1 Burstinatrix and 1 Polymerization. However, to make this a little more consistent, I normally go with 2 copies of each of those cards. So that's 6 deck slots gone already. And then the comeback victory, like usual, I have lower life points than him, and I can accomplish this without dedicating any deck slots to cards like Hieroglyph Lithograph by simply not summoning a monster in the early game and let him attack me for some damage, being careful that I do not lose the duel in the process. So, after summoning Flame Wingman, getting 1500 or more points of effect damage with a single activation, and getting a comeback victory, the only 2 missions that were left for Crowler to discuss here are that in GX duels we summon 3 level 6 or higher monsters, which of course can be fusion monsters or synchro monsters or tribute monsters, it does not matter. Stuff like Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, for example, or the hero fusion monsters like Escoridao and some more would count for that as well. And then we have a mission that overlaps with a mission for Cyrus and his unlock, which says that in GX World duels we have to summon 3 machine type monsters in total. And as I said, this covers one of Cyrus unlocks missions as well, and we already got Cyrus. And what happens to be a machine monster is actually Gaia Saber the Lightning Shadow, the Link monster that I've been playing the whole time. That is a machine, and previously, before they changed all of these missions, or some of these missions, you had to get 3 wins with machine type monsters only, which is quite different to just summon 3 machines, dude! So I actually appreciate the change, and summoning 3 machines is not a big deal. You can do this in 3 separate duels, it does not matter at all. And that allows us to unlock Dr. Crowler. Then we swap over to Zale World and duel Alito here at the gate, using Yuma of course. And this will be my 3rd win. With all of these Barian Emperors, it sucks, in my opinion, that we have to beat them 3 times each at level 30 with a specific character. I mean, just winning 1 time at level 30 would be enough, in my opinion. But this 3 times thing is actually true for guys like Girak, Alito as well, as we see here, and Dumon and Mizar, and I think even Vector. Yeah, Vector we had to beat 3 times as well at level 30. So I actually did 2 duels against him off screen and 1 level 30 of course, and this will be our 3rd win. But that only clears 1 of the 5 missions. The other 4 missions will be covered in the next duel, which I'm going to do against him at level 10 at the gate using Yuma once again. So, the missions that I am going for are that we summon number C39 Utopia Ray, that we win the duel with exactly 500 or less life points remaining, so that's quite difficult apparently. We summon a rank 1 monster, not a rank 1 or higher, but just a rank 1 monster, and we activate a counter trap card. So all fun all around here. And don't you worry, I'm going to show you the deck that I used afterwards so that you can laugh at me, or maybe even not. So, number C39 Utopia Ray is summoned quite easily if we use the skill Zale Ultimate Unite that we got from the card trader, that I'm using for the tray unlock as well, or that I have been using for the tray unlock. So we just summon number 39 Utopia and put Utopia Ray on top of him. And both cards are added to our extra deck with the skill, and the summon of number C39 is actually treated as an XYZ summon, so that's mighty convenient, since for these summon missions you have to summon them properly, for the most part. Then when it comes to 500 or less life points remaining, I make use of another card that we've seen before, and I've resorted to this strategy in the Maximilian Pegasus duel, I think, but I will pick up on this when I'm trying to unlock Ghost Girl later down the line, which is of course using the counter trap card Goblin out of the frying pan. This card lets me pay 500 life points, so it's a counter trap card, it lets me pay 500 life points to negate the activation of a spell card. It does not have to be an opponent's spell card, but my own as well. When I happen to activate Hieroglyph Lithograph and then negate it with my own counter trap card and it is bounced back to my hand, I still have to pay the 1000 life points for the activation of Hieroglyph, because that's a cost and not an effect. And then I also paid 500 life points for my counter trap card. So not only did I activate the counter trap card and get this activation done for the missions, but also can activate my Hieroglyph a second time and go down by 2500 life points already, so that I would only need 2 copies of Hieroglyph to get my life points down. Actually, I would need all 3 copies, don't mind me. Or would I need 2 or 3? I just need 2 copies of this. Yeah, exactly. So, with just 2 copies of Hieroglyph and 1 copy of my counter trap card, I am fine. And the mission states activate 1 counter trap card against him. However, if you are unlucky and the counter trap card in your deck, the 1 card that you're using, is at the bottom of your deck, you will not be able to activate it again, or in time, probably. So I actually play several copies of Goblin out of the frying pan, which is a card you can get from a few character starter decks, I think, but also from drop rewards against some standard and legendary duel lists. So I think you should be fine, and you should be able to get that card. Also, you might get it from the card trader and maybe from card tickets if you are actually willing to put some resources into that. And then we would be left with the rank 1 monster that you've seen already, which is this one Lyrilisk monster that I got after unlocking Lulu and leveling Lulu up a bit, so that I got this as a drop reward. Normally, for this mission I would use 1 super rare card ticket on a copy of Baby Terragon and then summon that guy. However, Baby Terragon requires exactly 3 level 1 monsters and therefore is harder to summon than something like the Lyrilisk monsters that require 2 plus level 1 monsters. And I'm doing the same that I'm doing for the Formula Synchron summon, which of course was that I summoned my level 1 tuner monster and then Boost Warrior. So here you see the deck, and maybe it helps you, maybe it doesn't. I hope it does. Also, I play a few level 1 monsters, not just the ones that I need, but more than just 2 copies, so that I have more consistency. Hieroglyph Lithograph, Goblin out of the frying pan, the usual stuff that I already talked about. And yeah, pretty straightforward, pretty simple. And I hope that this was at least a bit entertaining, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next episode.